Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In this occasion, I will introduce myself. My name is Fahmi Yahya Abdul Haq, and at this time, I will explain to you, or I will present to you my article that the title is Wordwall, a digital game application to increase the interest of Rabbaani Junior High School student in learning Arabic vocabulary. And I will explain to you from abstract to the result and the discussion. So the first, government policies relate to online learning activities since the pandemic caused change in the teaching method used in learning Arabic. Online learning is in line with the spirit of e-learning in the 4.0 era as it is today. However, in its application, there are several obstacles, especially the decline in student interest in learning. One way that can be used to increase student interest in learning activities is to use the Wordwall application. The Wordwall application is an online learning media that features games, quizzes, discussion, and surveys. This article will examine the use of Wordwall application as a media to increase student interest in learning Arabic vocabulary. Researcher will describe an application of interesting game for Arabic vocabulary learning activities at Rabbaani Junior High School. The data was collected by means of observations, interviews, and documentation. The results show that with Wordwall application, learning becomes interactive, easy, fun, and helps students to understand Arabic vocabulary. In addition, game-based learning with the Wordwall application is very appropriate for beginners to learn Arabic. And then the introduction. The COVID-19 pandemic has hit the world since a year ago. This has a major effects on several aspects of human life. One of them is that this pandemic has forced the implementation of distance learning, which has almost never been carried out simultaneously for all education practitioners, from students, teachers, to parents. Kusuma and Hamidah state that the thing that underlies the occurrence of distance learning is that three elements are a big problem when this pandemic hits the world, namely time, location, and distance. Therefore, distance learning can be a solution to be the absence of face-to-face learning during the pandemic. Distance learning has become a government policy in Indonesia as an effort to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Asani stated that all teachers are required to carry out distance learning activities, which are set to start on March 24, as stated in the circular of the Minister of Education in deciding the spread of COVID-19 in Indonesia. In learning Arabic, the main capital is needed to understand the contents of written or spoken text messages and speak Arabic fluently, namely vocabulary mastery. Indicators of mastery and understanding of vocabulary for students in learning Arabic vary. This depends on each level. Some suggest between 750 to 1,000 vocabularies for beginners, and then 1,000 to 1,500 for advanced levels, and 1,500 to 2,000 for advanced levels. Basically, the more vocabulary as a person has, the easier it will be to understand Arabic text and their fluency in speaking Arabic. Therefore, mastery of Arabic vocabulary needs to be continuously developed by everyone who wants to be proficient in Arabic. Fajriah also revealed that mastery of Arabic vocabulary is a person's ability to use it to communicate using Arabic or in written form. Therefore, in the process of learning Arabic, students are not required to master and understand all Arabic vocabulary, but are limited to learning materials that have been adapted to the curriculum so that there is no maximum provision for students regarding the number of words that must be mastered. In practice, learning Arabic at Rabbaani Junior High School, especially in distance learning during the pandemic, is still not optimal, especially before the implementation of digital game media learning. Many students are not interested in learning Arabic. Some of the underlying factors include Arabic lessons which are considered difficult by students. Arabic teachers who only use conventional methods are considered boring by students, and the absence of creative media used by teacher in teaching Arabic. Based on the things that have been described before, it is necessary to have creative media that is presented in learning Arabic vocabulary. This media must adapt to Generation Z, who generally like creative, practical, and fun things in various activities, including when studying. It is undeniable that Generation Z children really like digital games, and some are even addicted to them. However, digital games do not only have a negative side on children, because in fact, the digital game approach in learning is able to stimulate children's emotional, intellectual, and psychomotor. So the method that be used for this article, this study, use descriptive qualitative method. Researcher will try and strive to collect as much data as possible, and then after that, the researcher pour the data in the form of reports or descriptions. The data collected in this study are matters related to the use of Wordwall in learning Arabic vocabulary in class 8 of Rabbaanii'S Junior High School. So, and then the result and discussion. Based on the observation made by the researcher, the Arabic teacher at Rabbaanii'S Junior High School applies the use of Wordwall in learning Arabic vocabulary. Wordwall is a web application that can be used to create fun quiz-based game. Serianto said that Wordwall is an application that can be used as learning media, learning resources, and assessment tool for teachers and students. Wordwall also provides some example of teacher creations that can help new users can get creative. In addition, Wordwall can also be used to design and review learning assessments. In learning Arabic vocabulary, Arabic teachers use the book Indonesian Arabic Dictionary every day by Muhyiddin Abu Yahya et al. In the dictionary, there are many Arabic vocabularies which are divided into several terms, including days, schools, mosques, health room, means of transportation, and so on. The teacher asks students to be able to memorize and understand the 10 vocabularies in the dictionary in a week. The steps taken by the teacher in making digital games with Wordwall in learning Arabic are: the first, teacher determines some vocabulary that will be given to students to be memorized and understood. And then the teacher creates and registers an account at https://wordwall.net, then completes the request data. And the third, the teacher press the create activity option and then choose one of the templates in the Wordwall application. At the time, the teacher choose a maze case template to be used as a digital game template to be made. And then the teacher writes down the predetermined content, and then the teacher press the done option as the final step in the process of making digital games in the Wordwall application. And finally, the teacher copies the digital game link that has been created to be shared with students. In the implementation of learning, the teacher dictates in advance the vocabularies that will be mastered by students at the beginning of learning. This is done by the teacher through the Google Meet application. After all students feel they have understood and memorized the vocabulary, the teacher provides the digital game link that has been copied to the class group. Then the teacher asks all students to play the digital game. Based on the result of interviews that researcher conduct with the teachers, he explained that Wordwall have several advantages, including the first, easy to understand for beginners. There is a multiplayer feature, and then the features and templates provide are very diverse. There are 18 game features or template in the Wordwall application. And then in addition, he also explained that in addition to having advantages, the Wordwall application also have several disadvantages. Namely, first, the display is less colorful, font size cannot be changed, and then users have to pay to subscribe and get all the features in full. The researcher also asked the teacher about the students' response in class when learning Arabic vocabulary using Wordwall. He explained that the students seem very enthusiastic about learning. The students were happy with the digital game presented by teacher. Then from the result of the questionnaire distribute through the Google form to collect student responses relate to the use of Wordwall in learning Arabic vocabulary, 28 respondents, which are students, collected the response or the responses with the following response diagram. We can see the diagram. So from the results of the diagram, it can be concluded that by using Wordwall in Arabic learning vocabulary, 78.5% or 22 students said that they were very happy with the digital game in learning. Meanwhile, 21.5% or 6 students said they were happy, and no one gave a displeased response. This shows that all students are are happy with learning Arabic vocabulary using Wordwall. So this is the picture when students play the digital game that created by teacher. So this is a presentation for me. This is a presentation from me. So I will thank to you for attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.